Hello and welcome. Before we begin this journey together, pause for just a moment. Breathe in slowly and let the breath fade away. You don't need to rush. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. This moment is just for you. Today, we're going to talk about something deeply human. Something that affects every decision you make, every dream you hold, and every fear that tries to stop you. We're going to talk about how to believe in yourself. Not the loud, overconfident kind of belief. Not the kind that pretends fear doesn't exist. But the quiet kind. The steady kind. The belief that grows slowly, gently, and honestly, even when life has been difficult. If you have ever doubted yourself, if you have ever felt like others were more capable, more confident, more deserving than you, if you have ever stood still because you were afraid to fail, then this video is for you. Stay with me until the end. Because by the time we finish, you may not become fearless, but you will understand something far more powerful. You don't need to be fearless to believe in yourself. You just need to be willing to begin. Part 1. Why self-belief is so difficult. Believing in yourself sounds simple. People say it casually. Just trust yourself. Have confidence. Believe in who you are. But if it were truly that easy, you wouldn't be here listening right now. The truth is, self-belief is difficult, not because you are weak, but because life has taught you to doubt yourself. From a very young age, many of us learned to measure our worth through the eyes of others. We were praised when we performed well. We were criticized when we failed. We were compared, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly, to siblings, classmates, or expectations that were never clearly explained. Over time, something subtle happened. Instead of asking, "What do I believe about myself?" we started asking, "What do others think about me?" And that is where self-doubt quietly begins. Every disappointment becomes evidence. Every mistake feels like confirmation. Every rejection whispers the same message. Maybe you're not good enough. What makes this even harder is that self-doubt often feels logical. It sounds reasonable. It points to real experiences, failures, lost opportunities, moments when things didn't work out. So you start to believe that doubt is simply realism. But here is something important to understand. Self-doubt is not truth. It is memory without compassion. You remember the moments you fell short, but you forget the moments you survived. You remember the times you were afraid, but you forget the times you kept going anyway. Believing in yourself doesn't mean denying your weaknesses. It means refusing to let your weaknesses define your entire story. Another reason self-belief is so difficult is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of being exposed as not enough. Fear convinces you that staying small is safer than trying and failing. So you wait. You prepare endlessly. You tell yourself, "One day, when I'm more ready." But readiness is not something you discover. It's something you build by acting, even while unsure. Here is a quiet truth many people never hear. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Every person you admire, every confident speaker, leader, or creator, once felt uncertain. They didn't start believing in themselves and then act. They acted despite doubt, and belief followed. If you struggle to believe in yourself, it does not mean something is wrong with you. It means you are human. And it means you are standing at the beginning of a very important journey. Because self-belief is not a personality trait. It is a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned. Part 2. Understanding your inner voice. Inside every person, there is a voice that never stops speaking. It speaks when you wake up in the morning. It speaks when you hesitate before making a decision. It speaks when you are about to try something new, and again when you think about giving up. This voice feels personal. It sounds like you. But most of the time, it is not telling the truth. This inner voice was not born with you. It was built over time. It was shaped by words you heard repeatedly. By moments when you were embarrassed. By experiences where you felt rejected, ignored, or not chosen. Slowly, without you noticing, these moments became a narrator inside your mind. And that narrator learned one main job, to protect you from pain. But protection often comes at a cost. When your inner voice says, "You're not ready," it may really mean, "I'm afraid you'll get hurt." When it says, "Others are better than you," it may really mean, "If you don't try, you can't fail." The problem is not that this voice exists. The problem is that you believe everything it says. Here is something important to understand. Your inner voice speaks from the past, but you are living in the present. It uses old memories to predict new outcomes. It takes a few painful experiences and turns them into universal rules. One failure becomes, "I always fail." One rejection becomes, "I'm not desirable." One mistake becomes, "I can't be trusted." This is not honesty. This is fear disguised as logic. Believing in yourself begins when you stop asking, "Is this voice loud?" and start asking, "Is this voice kind? Is it fair? Is it true?" Most people talk to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. Imagine saying to a close friend, "You're probably going to fail. You're not good enough for this. You should stop trying." You would never do that. Yet many people repeat these words to themselves every day. Self-belief is not about silencing your inner voice. It is about changing your relationship with it. Instead of fighting the voice, learn to observe it. When doubt appears, don't panic. Don't argue aggressively. Just notice. Say quietly to yourself, "I hear this thought, but I don't have to obey it." This small pause creates space. And in that space, belief can begin to grow. Another powerful truth is this. Your inner voice is strongest when you are tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally exposed. When you lack sleep. When you carry too much responsibility. When you feel alone. In these moments, doubt feels convincing, not because it's right, but because you are vulnerable. So believing in yourself is not only a mental practice. It is also a care practice. Rest matters. Gentleness matters. Allowing yourself to slow down matters. You cannot build belief while constantly attacking yourself. There is one more reason your inner voice lies. It confuses certainty with worthiness. It tells you that unless you are completely confident, you don't deserve to move forward. But certainty is not a requirement for growth. Courage is. Believing in yourself doesn't mean saying, "I know I will succeed." It means saying, "Even if I fail, I trust myself to learn, to adapt, and to continue." That kind of belief is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't seek approval. It simply says, "I am allowed to try." And that permission, given by yourself, to yourself, is life-changing. In the next part, we will explore where real self-belief begins to form, not in success, but in something much smaller, much quieter, and far more reliable. Part 3. Building self-belief through small, honest actions. Many people believe that confidence appears after a great success. They think self-belief comes when something big finally works out. When they achieve a major goal. When others finally recognize their value. But this way of thinking quietly keeps people stuck. Because if belief only comes after success, then how are you supposed to act before success? The truth is much gentler than that. Self-belief is not built through dramatic moments. It is built through small, honest actions repeated over time. Actions so small that no one else notices. Actions that feel almost insignificant. But they matter more than you think. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a tiny one, something shifts inside you. When you say, "I will try," and you actually try. When you say, "I will show up," and you show up. When you say, "I will take one step," and you take that step. Your mind begins to learn a new story. I can trust myself. Belief does not grow from perfection. It grows from consistency. Many people wait until they feel confident to act. But confidence is not a starting point. Confidence is a result. And the process works in reverse. Action, evidence, belief. Each small action becomes proof. Not proof for others, proof for you. This is why setting realistic, honest goals is so important. Not goals designed to impress. Not goals designed to prove something. But goals designed to be kept. When you set goals that are too big, too vague, or too distant, failure feels personal. But when you set goals that are simple and clear, success becomes possible and repeatable. Even something as small as, I will spend 10 minutes today on something that matters to me. I will speak honestly in this moment. I will take care of myself instead of ignoring my needs. These actions may not change your life overnight, but they change how you see yourself. And that changes everything. Another important part of building self-belief is learning to respect your own pace. We live in a world that celebrates speed, fast results, quick transformations. But growth does not follow a straight line. Some days you will feel strong. Other days you will feel unsure again. This does not mean you are going backward. It means you are human. Believing in yourself means allowing progress to be uneven and continuing anyway. There is a quiet dignity in moving forward without applause. In doing the work when no one is watching. In choosing patience over pressure. In choosing honesty over performance. Self-belief deepens when you stop trying to become someone else and start becoming more of who you already are. This includes accepting your limits. Limits are not failures. They are boundaries that guide you. When you respect your energy, your emotions, and your reality, you build trust with yourself. And trust is the foundation of belief. One more truth that often goes unnoticed. Self-belief grows when you allow yourself to be a beginner. Beginners are not supposed to be perfect. They are supposed to learn. When you expect mastery too soon, you create unnecessary shame. But when you allow yourself to be new, uncertain, and imperfect, you give yourself room to grow. Every expert was once a beginner who didn't quit. Believing in yourself doesn't mean thinking you are extraordinary. It means knowing that you are capable of growth. And that is more powerful than talent. In the next part, we will talk about one of the biggest obstacles to self-belief, the fear of failure, and how to stop letting it control your choices. Part 4. Making peace with failure and letting go of fear. For many people, the greatest enemy of self-belief is not doubt. It is fear. Fear of failing. Fear of making the wrong choice. Fear of being seen, judged, or misunderstood. Fear has a powerful way of shrinking your world. It convinces you to stay where you are, to choose what feels safe instead of what feels true, to delay your life until some imagined moment when fear finally disappears. But fear does not disappear. It changes shape, but it stays. And believing in yourself does not mean living without fear. It means learning how to walk forward while fear walks beside you. One of the reasons failure feels so terrifying is because we were taught to see it as an identity. When you fail, you are not just someone who made a mistake. You become a failure. This is a heavy burden for any human being. But failure is not who you are. Failure is something that happens, not something that defines you. Every meaningful life includes failure. Not as an exception, but as a requirement. If you never fail, it means you never truly try. When you make peace with failure, something important shifts. Failure stops being a threat. It becomes information. It shows you where you need to grow, what needs adjustment, what no longer works. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path toward it. Another reason fear has so much power is because it speaks in absolute terms. If you fail, everything will be ruined. If you try and it doesn't work, you will never recover. If people see you fail, they will never respect you again. But fear exaggerates. In reality, most failures are temporary. Most people are far more focused on their own lives than on judging yours. And most setbacks fade faster than you expect. What stays with you much longer is regret. The regret of not trying. The regret of staying silent when you wanted to speak. The regret of choosing safety over truth. Fear wants to protect you from pain. But in doing so, it often protects you from growth. Believing in yourself means accepting that pain is sometimes part of becoming. You don't need to seek discomfort. But you don't need to run from it either. Courage is not loud. It does not announce itself. Courage often looks like a quiet decision to continue, even when you are unsure. There's something else that weakens fear. Perspective. Ask yourself gently, what is the worst realistic outcome? And if that happens, can I survive it? Most of the time, the answer is yes. You have survived difficult moments before. You have adapted. You have healed. You are more resilient than fear allows you to remember. When you begin to see failure as survivable, fear loses its grip. And when fear loses its grip, self-belief has space to grow. In the next part, we will explore how your environment, the people you listen to, the words you hear, and the stories you consume can either strengthen or weaken your belief in yourself. Part 5. Choosing an environment that supports your growth. Believing in yourself is not something you do alone. Even the strongest inner belief is influenced by the world around you. The people you listen to, the conversations you absorb, the stories you repeat in your mind. Your environment shapes your belief more than you realize. If you are constantly surrounded by voices that doubt you, rush you, or diminish your efforts, even the strongest intention can slowly weaken. This does not mean others are trying to harm you. Often, they are simply speaking from their own fears. But belief cannot grow in soil that is constantly disturbed. One of the most important acts of self-respect is choosing what and who you allow to influence you. This begins with awareness. Notice how you feel after spending time with certain people. Do you feel lighter, calmer, more capable? Or do you feel smaller, tense, and unsure? Believing in yourself does not require cutting everyone out of your life, but it does require setting quiet boundaries. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to step back from conversations that drain you. You are allowed to limit exposure to negativity, even when it comes from familiar voices. Another part of your environment is what you consume. The books you read. The videos you watch. The messages you repeat daily. Your mind is always learning, even when you are not paying attention. If you constantly feed it stories of comparison, fear, and impossible standards, it will begin to believe those stories are reality. But when you choose content that reminds you of growth, patience, and human resilience, your inner world slowly changes. This does not mean pretending life is perfect. It means choosing honesty over hopelessness. It means listening to voices that say, you are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to begin where you are. You are allowed to believe in yourself even before results appear. Your physical environment matters too. A quiet space. A moment of stillness. A routine that gives your mind room to breathe. Self-belief grows when your nervous system feels safe. When you are constantly overwhelmed, rushed, or exhausted, doubt becomes louder. But when you create even small moments of calm, your inner voice softens. And in that softness, belief can take root. There is one more important truth about environment. Sometimes you need to become your own supportive presence. You may not always have encouragement from others. You may not always feel understood. In those moments, your ability to speak kindly to yourself becomes essential. Say things like, I am learning. I am allowed to take my time. I don't need to prove anything today. These words may feel small, but spoken consistently, they become powerful. Believing in yourself is not about isolating from the world. It is about choosing alignment. Alignment between who you are becoming and what you allow into your life. In the final part, we will bring everything together and talk about how self-belief becomes a quiet, lifelong practice, not a destination. Part 6, Self-Belief as a Lifelong Practice. Believing in yourself is not a moment. It is not something that suddenly appears one day and stays forever. Self-belief is a practice, a quiet, daily choice you make again and again. Some days, belief will feel strong. Other days, it will feel fragile. And that is not a failure. That is life. Many people give up on self-belief because they expect it to be permanent. They think, if I truly believed in myself, I wouldn't feel doubt again. But doubt returning does not mean belief is gone. It simply means you are facing something new. Growth always invites uncertainty. Each new level of your life will ask you the same question in a different form. Do you trust yourself enough to continue? Self-belief does not mean always feeling confident. It means choosing to stand by yourself even when confidence fades. It means saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust myself to figure them out. Over time, belief becomes less emotional and more grounded. It stops depending on motivation. It stops depending on approval. It becomes something quieter and stronger. You stop asking, am I good enough? And start asking, what feels honest to me right now? That shift changes everything. Believing in yourself means allowing your identity to be flexible. You are not one fixed version of yourself. You are allowed to evolve. What worked for you before may no longer fit. What once felt impossible may slowly become natural. Self-belief gives you permission to change your mind, your direction, and your dreams without shame. It also teaches you patience. You stop rushing your becoming. You stop comparing your timeline to others. You understand that meaningful growth cannot be forced. And when setbacks come, because they will, belief changes how you respond. Instead of collapsing into self-blame, you ask, what can I learn from this? What do I need right now? This is maturity. This is strength. Self-belief also deepens your compassion, not only for yourself, but for others. When you stop judging yourself harshly, you stop needing to judge others to feel secure. You become calmer, more present, more grounded. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. You simply live it. At its core, believing in yourself means this. You trust that your life has value, even when it is imperfect, even when it is unfinished. You trust that you are allowed to take up space, to have desires, to make mistakes, to begin again. And perhaps the most powerful part of self-belief is this. When you believe in yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Not through words, but through example. Through the way you keep going quietly. Through the way you treat yourself with dignity. Through the way you refuse to abandon yourself, even on difficult days. This is not a loud victory. It is a lasting one. Before we end, I want to remind you of something important. You do not need to become someone else to believe in yourself. You do not need to wait until you are perfect. You do not need to silence every doubt. You only need to be willing to stay with yourself, honestly, patiently, and kindly. Self-belief begins the moment you stop walking away from who you are. If this message resonated with you, if it helped you feel calmer, stronger, or more understood, then I invite you to stay with this channel. Subscribe so you don't miss future videos like this. Turn on the notification bell so these moments of reflection can find you when you need them most. And continue watching, because this journey of growth does not end here. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for choosing, even quietly, to believe in yourself. I'll see you in the next video.